You say you're stuck. You say you don't know what to do. You say you're confused about your next move. I'm going to tell you something you don't want to hear. You're lying. You're not stuck. You know exactly what you need to do. You've known for months, maybe years. You're just avoiding it. And today, I'm going to call out exactly what you're avoiding and why. Because once you see it, really see it, you can't unsee it. And that's when everything changes. If this makes you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is the entire point. Let's go. Here's what you tell yourself. I don't know what to do with my life. I'm stuck. I need to figure things out. Bull. You know exactly what you need to do. You just don't want to do it because it's hard, scary, or uncomfortable. Let me prove it to you. You know you need to have that difficult conversation, the one you've been putting off for weeks, with your boss, your partner, your parent, yourself. You know what needs to be said. You've rehearsed it in your head 1,000 times, but you haven't said it because it might create conflict. It might hurt someone's feelings. It might change everything. So you avoid it, and you call that being stuck. You know you need to quit that job, the one that's draining your soul, the one you complain about every single day, but show up to every single morning. You know you're capable of more. You know staying is killing you slowly, but leaving is uncertain, scary, risky. So you stay. And you call that being stuck. You know you need to end that relationship. The one that stopped working months ago. The one where you're both just going through the motions. You know it's over. You've known for a while. But ending it means being alone. Starting over. Hurting someone you care about. So you stay. And you call that being stuck. You're not stuck. You're avoiding the hard thing. And you're using confusion as a convenient excuse. Let me tell you what being stuck actually looks like. Being stuck is when you genuinely don't have options, when you've tried everything and nothing has worked, when external circumstances have you trapped with no way out. That's stuck. But you have options, lots of them. You just don't like any of them because they all require discomfort. So you pretend you don't know what to do, because I don't know feels better than I know but I'm too scared to do it. Here's the thing nobody tells you about growth. It requires killing something. You can't become the new version of yourself while clinging to the old version. You can't step into your future while holding on to your past. Something has to die. A relationship, a job, an identity, a comfort zone, a belief about yourself. And you're avoiding that death because death feels final. Even when it's necessary. You're trying to grow without loss, transform without sacrifice, evolve without pain. It doesn't work that way. Every caterpillar has to dissolve completely before becoming a butterfly. The caterpillar doesn't get to partially transform. It's all or nothing. You're trying to keep one foot in the cocoon and wondering why you're stuck. Let's talk about what you're really avoiding. You're avoiding uncertainty. Right now, your life is predictable, comfortable, safe. You know what tomorrow looks like because it looks like today. And yeah, you're unhappy. But at least you know what kind of unhappy you are. The alternative, the thing you need to do, it's uncertain. You don't know how it will turn out. You don't know if you'll fail. You don't know if you'll regret it. So you stay in the misery you know rather than risk the unknown. Your brain is wired to prefer predictable misery over uncertain possibility. It's called the devil you know. But here's what you're not calculating. Staying has a cost too. Every day you don't do the hard thing, you're paying the price. You're paying in resentment. In regret, in the slow erosion of your self-respect, in the quiet knowledge that you're choosing comfort over truth. That cost compounds, and one day you'll wake up and realize you spent years avoiding something that took 5 minutes of courage. You're avoiding failure. You know what you want to try. The business, the creative project, the career change, the big move. But what if you fail? What if you try and it doesn't work? What if people laugh? What if you prove to yourself that you're not capable? So you don't try, and you tell yourself you're stuck. But here's the brutal truth. You're already failing. By not trying, you're failing by default. At least if you try and fail, you get data. You learn something. You eliminate an option. You prove to yourself that you're capable of courage. If you don't try, you just exist, wondering, always wondering. And that wondering will haunt you far longer than any failure ever could. You're avoiding judgment. You know what you want to do. You know who you want to become. But what will people think? What will your parents say? What will your friends think? What will your colleagues whisper? So you shrink. You play small. You stay in the box everyone put you in, because stepping out means dealing with opinions. But let me ask you something. Whose life is this? Are you living for their approval or your fulfillment? Because you can't have both. At some point, you have to choose between being liked and being yourself. The people who actually build lives they love, they stopped caring what people thought. Not because they're arrogant, because they realized other people's opinions don't pay the bills or fill the void. You're the one who has to live your life, not them, you. So why are you letting their imaginary judgment keep you stuck? You're avoiding responsibility. As long as you're stuck, you're off the hook. It's not your fault things aren't working out. You're a victim of circumstances. But the moment you admit you're avoiding the hard thing, now you're responsible. Now it's on you. And that's terrifying, because if you're responsible, then you can't blame anyone else. You can't hide behind excuses. You can't play victim anymore. You have to own your life. All of it. The good, the bad, the scary, the uncertain. Most people would rather stay stuck than take that level of responsibility. But you're not most people, are you? You're avoiding the truth about yourself. Maybe the thing you're avoiding is admitting that you're the problem. Not the job. Not the relationship. Not the circumstances. You. Maybe you need to admit you're lazy, or selfish, or scared, or playing victim. Maybe you need to look in the mirror and acknowledge that the common denominator in all your failed attempts is you. That's a hard pill to swallow. But it's also the most empowering realization you can have. Because if you're the problem, you're also the solution. You can't change other people. You can't change the past. You can't change your circumstances overnight. But you can change you, starting today. And once you take responsibility for your part, everything shifts. Here's what happens when you stop avoiding and start facing. First, there's terror. Real, visceral fear. Because now you're actually doing the thing you've been avoiding. You're having the conversation. You're quitting the job. You're ending the relationship. You're starting the thing. You're admitting the truth. And it feels like jumping off a cliff. But then something amazing happens. The thing you were avoiding, it's never as bad as you imagined. The conversation goes better than you thought. The change feels like relief. The failure teaches you something valuable. And even when it's hard, even when it hurts, there's this sense of being alive again. Because you're finally moving. You're finally being honest. You're finally choosing yourself. And that feeling? That's what you've been missing. Not comfort, not certainty, not approval, aliveness, truth, integrity, the feeling of being in alignment with who you actually are instead of who you're pretending to be. Second, you realize how much energy you were wasting. Avoiding takes enormous energy. Lying to yourself is exhausting. Pretending you're stuck when you know you're not, that drains you. Once you stop avoiding, that energy comes flooding back. Suddenly, you have clarity, focus, momentum. Because you're not spending half your energy maintaining the illusion anymore. You're just doing, being, moving, and it's effortless compared to the mental gymnastics you were doing before. Third, you discover you're more capable than you thought. You thought you couldn't handle the hard conversation. You did. You thought you couldn't survive the change. You are. You thought you'd fall apart. You're standing. Every time you face the thing you're avoiding, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than you thought. And that compounds. Suddenly, the next hard thing isn't as hard. Because you have evidence now. You've done hard things before. You start to trust yourself. And that changes everything. So here's what you do. Right now, this moment, answer this question honestly. What am I avoiding? Not, what am I stuck on? What am I avoiding? Write it down. Say it out loud. Whatever it takes to name it. Because you can't face what you won't name. Is it a conversation, a decision, a truth about yourself, a change you need to make? Name it. Then ask yourself, what's the worst that happens if I do this thing? Really think about it, not the catastrophic fantasy version, the realistic version. You have the conversation, maybe it goes badly, maybe the relationship ends, and then what? You survive, you move on, you find something better. You quit the job, maybe you struggle for a bit, maybe you take a pay cut, and then what? You figure it out. You always do. You start the thing. Maybe you fail. Maybe people judge you. And then what? You learn. You try again. The world keeps spinning. The worst-case scenario is almost never as bad as staying stuck forever. Now ask yourself, what's the cost of not doing this thing? If you avoid this for another year, where will you be? How will you feel? Who will you become? If you avoid this for 5 years, 10 years, that's the real catastrophe, not the hard thing, the slow death of staying stuck. Finally, set a deadline. You're going to do the hard thing by this date, not someday, a real date. Tell someone, make it real, create accountability. Because here's the truth, you'll keep avoiding forever if you don't force the issue. Discomfort doesn't get easier with time, it gets more familiar. And familiarity feels like safety even when it's killing you. You have to interrupt the pattern. And the only way to do that is to act. Look, I know this is harsh, I know it's uncomfortable, but you didn't click on this video for comfort. You clicked because some part of you knows I'm right. You're not stuck, you're avoiding. And every day you avoid is a day you're choosing fear over truth, comfort over growth. The illusion of being stuck over the reality that you just don't want to do the hard thing, but you're capable of it. You know you are. The question is, when are you going to stop pretending you don't know what to do and just do it? Because that version of you that does the hard thing, that's who you actually are. That's who's been waiting to break through. The stuck version? That's just the mask you're wearing to avoid discomfort. Take off the mask. Face the thing. Do it scared. Your real life is on the other side of that avoided conversation, that avoided decision, that avoided truth, and it's waiting for you to finally show up. So what's it going to be? See you in the next one.